And also give Tanjiro some more struggle. Like, yeah, okay, he struggled to push a boulder for half an episode. That's about it. Otherwise, he just went and crushed everything.
Fifth boulder he struggled against his entire show.
He really hates boulders. That's Muzan's just like, man, throw a boulder at him, he's gone.
It's just boulders all day. Like, fucking hell.
Well, hello, and welcome back to Gateway to Anime. How are you all? What's going on? We are the podcast where we bring you the best new anime and all the news happening in the anime world, as well as deep dive into the classics. Ever wanted to get into anime but didn't know where to start? We are the podcast for you. I am your host, Sam. Graham, how are you, my friend?
Ooh, that felt weird.
Didn't it?
It was like, a little, I'm expecting those words. Charlie?
I know, right?
How you going? It didn't happen. Yeah.
No.
I feel this is great.
It's great.
It's great.
Just Graham and I with you today. Charlie, unfortunately, is not in town. We have just come off Smash Convention. For those of you who are international, non-Australian listeners and or watchers, Smash Convention is the biggest anime convention in Australia, and we do quite a lot with it these days. It was quite fun, hey?
Man, I had a blast. It was bigger. It was bolder. It was, I think they nailed it this year. I think we did a great job of covering as much as we could.
Absolutely. We do event coverage. You can check it out on our YouTube channel. Also got lots of clips up on the Instagram. But we also, for the first time in the Gateway to Anime history, we had a booth.
We did have a booth.
We exhibited at Smash Convention. It was fun, hey?
Yeah, it was like we've never been asked these questions before, but people just kept coming up to the booth and was like, what do you guys do? And we were just like,
oh God, be succinct.
Anime, podcasts, YouTube, D&D. It was just throwing words. We really needed to work on a pitch.
Yeah, we should have been a little bit clearer on that. But for those of you who listen, you all know what we're about.
Yeah.
But for those of you who are listening, perhaps any new Smash Convention people, I gave you a little tidbit at the start there. But today we're going to do a little bit of a mid-year check-in. So obviously what we do, if you have followed our podcast or if you're new, basically every season, because obviously anime works in seasons, the 4 seasons of the year, there are anime shows that go with those seasonally, usually 12 to 13 episodes each, sometimes as low as 10, sometimes as high as 13. But sometimes they do this thing called cours, which you might have heard me say, where they split it between 2. So core 1, core 2, not season 1, not season 2, that is different. So they'll split a season into 2. So they'll do 25 episodes across, say, spring and summer. Sometimes they'll even split the cours and it'll feel like a second season, but it's actually core 2 of season 1 2 seasons later. It is confusing, but that's what we're here to do, to help you understand that a little bit clearer. So we just thought that given the fact that it's now over the halfway point of the year,
it is, yeah.
Let's just check in. Let's just go in over all of the things that has happened in the anime world this year, at least from our perspective, and hopefully relatively objective. But we'll talk about the things that we've really liked, the things that have been disappointing, and little bits of news and tidbits. So, Gray, why don't you start off with what has been your surprise hit of 2024 so far at just over the halfway point?
I don't think it was a surprise hit for me, but I was quite relieved that people actually enjoy Kaiju number 8.
Right.
Because that's been in my heart for so long. And if it was gonna similar to Chainsaw Man, I wanted everyone to love Chainsaw Man because I've loved it for so long, and then people just didn't vibe with it. That sucked.
Yeah.
But I'm pretty happy that people found Kaiju number 8 and enjoyed it for what it was.
Honestly, I loved it. I actually had it here as up there with my anime of the year so far.
Oh, wow.
Honestly, I liked it that much. I really did. Like, I know a lot of people are shitting on it, calling it, derivative and basic and simple. And I'm like, yeah.
It's a shonen.
It's a shonen. It's shonen. It is made for, young people, and we're not young people, but we have the heart of youngsters. We got the heart of a youngster.
Yeah.
And also we kind of just, it's a bit paint by the numbers. Yes, you can just see its influences. It's worn on its sleeve, but that's good because the things it's drawing influence from, I love.
Great shows. Attack on Titan, great show.
Neon Genesis, also a great show.
Steal it.
It's all good. And of course, the Godzilla influence, obviously, which is pertinent throughout so much Japanese media. But I just thought it was great. Now, let's just hear a little bit about the controversy as someone who is a manga reader yourself, and you've been championing this show from the rooftops since day one.
Yes. I don't know if it's controversy. I guess it's kind of a nitpick at this point because people came around and enjoyed it, but I think the character designs weren't great. I think when you compare it to the manga, they all felt a bit soft and a bit round, and I don't want to be this guy, but the manga, the boys and girls are hot. They're just good looking characters all around, and I expected that to come through. But this is not the guy who designed it. This is not his first controversial character design. He's also the guy who does Boruto, and he was the guy who did adult Naruto, which people hate. Adult Naruto, his design in it. They hate it.
Is it the same animation director or character designer?
Character designer.
For the anime specifically?
Yeah.
Right. So, okay, that's interesting.
Yeah, he's the one who translated all that Boruto stuff from manga to the anime.
Interesting.
And people weren't happy about it back then either.
I did see someone did do a comparison, because I haven't read the manga, but I think I'm going to have to now because I enjoyed it so much, and I just want to, I just want to keep watching it. Yeah. But someone did put up a comparison on Reddit, and I was like, oh wow, it's quite significant. Actually, it's quite significant.
Look, it's not bad. It's just the manga is just clearly better.
Much sharper.
Yeah, a lot sharper, a lot more stylized.
More defined lines in the jaw lines of the characters. Like Kafka in particular. Everyone
just seems to be about 5-10 pounds overweight.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was my only real nitpick with it. Yeah. They can change it for the next season or the next core or whatever we're rolling into.
Yes, true.
It's not a big deal. I think it's a nitpick of a good show.
Yes.
And a good start to.
Yeah, a great universe.
Yeah.
Kaiju number 8's been great.
It's been great. My only other quibble is they chewed through a lot of the story very quickly. It's not that far along in the actual story in the manga, and they chewed for a lot. I was surprised at where they got up to when they decided to stop it.
Interesting.
So I'm just worried that they'll catch up quick.
Okay. Yeah. How many chapters are there at the time of recording this podcast, or approximately?
Around somewhere around the hundreds.
Okay. So not that many.
Maybe 110.
And they did what, like say 50-ish for this?
They got through 5 volumes.
Okay.
And there's 10 currently available.
Oh, wow.
So,
okay. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So
this is English translation.
Yes.
I think in Japanese it's 12.
Okay.
And I think it is coming to an end soon as well.
Wow, so he's keeping it short. It's not going on forever.
Yeah, a lot of manga is finishing this year, like a lot.
Well, My Hero Academia.
Finishing
up.
What else is finishing? I mean, eventually One Piece will finish.
Who knows when.
JJK is finishing.
That is a big deal.
Shonen Jump is going to look very different in the next year or so.
Absolutely.
Chainsaw Man's finishing.
Wow, really? Probably.
Yeah. There's a lot of stuff that is coming to an end. I mean, even like shows that haven't aired yet, like Sakamoto Days.
Oh, yes.
That's coming to an end in manga.
Interesting.
And it hasn't aired as an anime yet, so.
That's coming next year, isn't it?
I think so.
Yeah, I'm hearing rumors of that.
Probably towards our winter.
Next year?
Next year, I guess. Whatever. Okay. Summer for them. Yeah. So.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah, it's going to look very, very different.
It is. Shonen Jump is going to, paving the way for the new ones.
There's some good stuff coming through.
Yeah.
Some real good stuff coming through. But we'll talk about that.
We will.
In the future.
Okay, so I want to talk a little bit about solo leveling.
Okay.
Because what's really interesting about solo leveling, and just having come from Australia's largest anime convention, which again, this is anecdotal stuff, but I've got some hard facts to back this up. But a lot of Frieren. Fair bit of Kaiju number 8. I mean, it's hard to cosplay, I think. So I think
a couple of things, yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't ubiquitous, but it was there. Obviously, the usuals, of course, your Fullmetal Alchemists, your Naruto's, your One Piece, all the things that we always see.
Honkai Star Rail.
Yes.
I'm judging you.
Yeah, but there was also a fair bit of Delicious in Dungeon, which has been my surprise hit of the year.
I'm not surprised.
Big time. I found that so fascinating, and I've segued here. I said I'd talk about solo leveling. I'll get back to it. Just a quick segue here. I really think that Delicious in Dungeon is fantastic. If you are a Dungeons and Dragons fan, if you're a D&D person, or just someone who likes fantasy, Delicious in Dungeon ticks every single box. If you're a food fan, ticking that box too. If you're both of those things, well, have I got a show for you? It's honestly, I really think it's actually quite fantastic. I actually ended up looking forward to it. Most of the animation actually looked fantastic. Great story, great characters, interesting, different enough from the normal fantasy tropes. Big tick for me. And my surprise hit of the year. But solo leveling.
Yeah.
Should have been something that was massive. Now, what's interesting about this is in many ways it has been, but it was completely underrepresented at Smash Convention. I saw no one dressed as any of it.
What do you do
at
like,
all?
if you're dressed as Sun Jin Woo?
Yeah, you just wear a lot of tracksuit.
You just wear a loose fitting cardigan.
Yeah.
Like I don't know what you do.
I
Like
guess you do the Red Knight, the Orion.
oh yeah, if you can go if you can pull off some of the summons.
Mm.
Yeah, the Red Knight would have been cool, but I don't know. Is it maybe just because it came so late in the year
It's not
to make something like that?
Maybe, but what has been really interesting about it is that it wasn't very successful in Japan. Right now, this is of course interesting because it's a South Korean show, right? It's a South Korean manhwa, well, webcomic more accurately. What is really interesting about that is the fact that there is a bit of cross-cultural transnationalism going on here, is having a Korean webtoon adapted by a Japanese animation studio.
Yeah.
So obviously, Japan and Korea, interesting history. But even outside of that, it is, and now this is difficult because a lot of this has been based off Blu-ray sales, and to me, I'm like, who could possibly care?
This is still a thing though. Like it is
still a thing, especially in Japan as well. Like the Blu-ray and like the DVD sales, still a thing.
Because that's the argument for Chainsaw Man, right? Not being a success because they didn't do well on Blu-ray.
Yes.
Like it's wild in 2024.
It is interesting. So I think Blu-ray sales around the world and in Japan are down en masse, right? Like of course they are, obviously. The herd of streaming. It failed to make Oricon's top 20 highest selling titles in Japan so far, which is, not even in the top 20. Like it's fairly significant, even if you take it as a microcosm of like just whatever, say they only sell, 10,000 Blu-rays and that's number one. So I don't know if that's the actual case, but let's say that is the case. Not to make the top 20 is still fairly significant, but where it was successful, the world.
Yeah, right.
And now Solo Leveling hasn't done what we thought it would do to that high level of totally breaking record. It's not Frieren.
No.
It's not anything it's not One Punch Man. It's not the things that we saw which actually had huge transnational appeal. It has been fairly disappointing.
Yeah, I would say so.
Enough to get a second season. Enough people care. Still being talked about. How did you think? As someone who's been reading it for a long time.
I've had this issue with all these manhwa translations because I just don't think there's enough story in them to... you talk about Frieren, we always talk about the quiet moments and the character building moments. That a lot of manhwa doesn't have that, especially Solo Leveling. The plot is really thin, but the hype moments are really good. So I just don't think there's enough not B story, but I just don't think there's enough momentum in the story apart from the fights.
Right.
Which might sound a bit wanky, but there's not enough to make me think.
Sure.
Or to make me feel. Sure. Or to care.
Sure.
About these characters. I mean, the main thrust of the plot is he needs to get stronger to beat the demon to eventually get a cure for his mother.
Yes. Yes.
Spoiler alert, that will run out long before the manhwa ends, that storyline.
Yes.
So you are just left with hype moments, but you can't have hype every episode because the episodes cost too much to make.
Yes.
So you're left with a void of mundane or mundanity or whatever it is. So
interesting.
I think but I've read the manhwa, so I know.
You know it's coming.
I know it's coming.
The Arise moment and the fight with the Red Knight was dope.
Oh, they're spectacular.
It was dope.
The start where he's in the double dungeon, great.
Very amazing. One of the better pilots of the year.
Yeah. But everything in between that is just kind of it's all just setting up the world, his powers, and who he is. Blah, blah, blah,
the world does interest me. I find Kaiju number 8's world more interesting.
Yeah.
But it is an interesting world.
I think, once we've kind of got through most of the boring stuff of it, so it should ramp up the pace of exploring other worlds, getting other summons, and blah, blah. And where it does end up is very interesting.
Okay.
I just feel there's not a lot of connective tissue between those moments.
Sure.
But look, they didn't sell Blu-rays, but who cares?
Honestly, who cares? Anime of the year so far.
That's a tough one. It's probably we got the tail end of Frieren this year.
I put that as mine
which
as well. Frieren Core 2.
I really loved JJK, the Shibuya arc.
Yep.
I think 2 of my favorite episodes this year have come from that season. Yep. We got 2 great episodes of Demon Slayer this year. I don't know. It's a hard one, man. A hard one. It might be JJK. I know there was a lot of controversy because of artists being worked to the bone, but I really enjoyed that.
Well, funny you say that because I wanted to bring that up. So for any of you who followed this podcast for a while, you would have heard us talk about how difficult the animation industry is for the people who work within it, particularly the animators and those who work at production studios. And number one, people who cop it in the industry are those who do the drawings, right? The animators. Really difficult stuff. So what's interesting about this is, I've talked about this a lot before, but there's the production committee system where basically, without diving too deep into this, Those big companies at the start who form a production committee are the ones who stand to make all the money. They essentially then farm out the production after they take all of the streaming numbers, merchandise, all of that stuff, and then they basically sell it on the open market to animation studios who take a lump sum to make the shows. That's kind of how it worked. That's very simplified, but that's kind of how it works. Now, some animation studios are powerful enough to get on production committees. A lot of them aren't, right? So the problem here is you get these studios who take a big lump sum. So it doesn't matter if the show's a hit or not, apart from the fact that maybe they're going to more likely get moved to the top of a bidding pile if they want a big IP from these production committees later on, right? But whether or not a show is a hit doesn't change how much an animator gets paid. Doesn't change anything. So this is the problem. Now, Jujutsu Kaisen Season 2, there were rumors at the start of this year. There were rumors from rather reputable anime YouTubers that there would be a strike at MAPPA, that it would stop production. Now, shows have gone on hiatus a few times. That happened to Nier Automata a little while back. It happened to Wonder Egg Priority. It happens quite often. A lot of times shows will actually just not make it. They won't make it to air. And they stop. And they got to take weeks off. Happens all the time. It's very unfortunate. It's happening more and more, I think, because of the way that this works. But Jujutsu Kaisen, for something this high, and MAPPA, the studio who made Jujutsu Kaisen Season 2, yeah, they're notorious for it. They're notorious for being some of the best animators in the industry and some of the best shows. I mean, they took on Attack on Titan at the end of there. Obviously, Jujutsu Kaisen, massive, massive IPs. But famously, they take on so many shows at once and their workers get drilled into the ground. So, November 2023, Okubo Shunsuke, Jujutsu Kaisen episode director of Season 2, Episode 12, uploaded artwork of an exhausted-looking Ima Yasuhara holding a loop of rope around her neck. So, for those of you who don't know, Emma is a character from a show manga called Shirobako. And Shirobako is about a group of friends who are part of an animation club in high school. It follows the four main characters. Emma is one of those characters. She is a character who goes on to become an animator in the show. So it's him basically voicing a fictional character who is an animator with a loop of rope around her neck, essentially being like...
It's wild.
You know, it's a pretty confronting image. He deleted it. But what he's saying there is, you know,
hey,
animators being worked to death, right?
Yeah.
So that's just one part of it. Another Jujutsu Kaisen director and storyboard artist, Arai Kazuto, who did Season 2, Episode 13, posted to X, was then deleted. Bad news came in, and I'm so done. The most boring ending imaginable. The festival is over. Yes, break up. I'm seriously deflated. Nothing is fun anymore. I can't stand it. Another one, there's many deleted posts from Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it, ended up on the official Reddit forum, and they were being taken down quickly, but they've been screenshotted and pasted on Reddit. One of the animators called MAPPA Scum. This is very rare that people actually go out and call out the studios, because again, you know, the Japanese work culture, it's very much like play your role, do your thing. And another animation director, Rokia Nobili, another post of hers just simply said, it's over. So this is when all the rumors were really flying around of like, oh my God, Jujutsu Kaisen's going to stop. There's going to be a strike.
Yeah.
That obviously didn't eventuate, but it is interesting. Now we haven't heard as much. MAPPA haven't done a huge show since to that level.
No.
But I haven't been hearing much about terrible working conditions recently. I'm sure they're always there, but it was pretty crazy for that to get to that level, right?
Yeah.
Where people are actually publicly calling out their studio that they're working for in the middle of a project.
Yeah.
Doesn't happen.
Yeah.
It's starting to happen.
And episodes going to air that were unfinished as well. Like
That's when one of those tweets was sent out.
Which I kind of love. Didn't love the you know, obviously the terrible working conditions and stuff like that, but when I watched it, I wasn't really aware of what was going on behind the scenes. I was like, oh, this is so artistic and so different and raw. And it was just like, oh no, these people have just been worked to death, and this is they had to put something on the air. So.
Yes. Yeah, it's crazy, hey.
Is it just because of how anime is actually brought to the masses that like companies don't have the money to pay? Because anime is exploding all over the world. Where's this money going to?
To the production committees. Yeah.
Just the committees.
Yeah. Because of the system, again, I'm going to actually do a full episode about what is called the curse of Tezuka. Osamu Tezuka, the creator of Astro Boy, known as the godfather of anime, of modern anime, because television anime, he created this system. But the reason he created this system, I'll give you very much a TLDR, I mentioned this briefly in the episode we just did with Gerald about the unique storytelling of Studio Ghibli.
Yep.
But basically, the reason that production committees exist is because to lessen the risk, a bunch of big companies will take on the IP. And as a result, if it does fail, 3 or 4 major companies can wear that hit, right? That's why they exist. And that's why it got done. But as a result, they take all the money. They have all of the rights to the IP, to the merchandise, etc., etc., etc. Tezuka, though, had it in-house in his own studio, Tezuka Productions. But I need to dive into this much deeper. There's academic...
This is a full thing.
Yeah, there's academic writing about this, which I've done lots of reading on. I will talk about later. But this is why the only reason Tezuka did it was because it was the only way to get it made at all, because it just didn't exist. It was the 60s. Television anime didn't exist.
Yeah.
So he made this system, and then that system has stayed mostly unchanged.
It's like the fax machine.
Yeah. Yeah, imagine if the fax machine
still
was
relevant in Japan.
Yeah. You know,
Like,
when things work, they just stick with it.
Yeah.
So that's a very loose, like, don't come for me. I know it's more complicated than that. You know, I know. I'll explain that more later in another episode. But that's kind of why it is the way that it is.
Yeah.
And it's becoming less and less sustainable. It's
100%.
You know, this is it coming apart at the seams a little bit, just a little bit. But we've never seen it like this. We know a lot of talk about it many, many times. But that's the first time I've seen, especially a major animation studio like MAPPA, getting called out by the animators.
Yeah.
It's pretty wild.
Oh, it was unprecedented. And to what it must actually be like on the ground for a Japanese person to go against all the social norms as well is wild. Like, I can't even imagine
how bad the conditions must be. Yeah.
Unbelievable.
But then, because we're terrible fans, pretty cool.
Pretty
Cool series though.
This episode is fucking
looked pretty fucking sick, didn't it?
Yeah, it's fucking great. See that episode?
That's the problem.
It's so good.
That's how capitalism always wins, man.
And we need 2 cores. We need fucking 29 episodes. Like,
man, it's
a
brutal.
year.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard. Anyway,
suck.
This is one of the reasons I wanted to do this episode, just to bring you up to speed on, like, by the way, this is happening in the background. It always is, but this is actually quite... Watch this space. You know what I mean? Like, watch this space. It didn't pop off to the way that a lot of reactionary, anime content creators were popping off at the start of the year. But it is a watch this space. If you want to do some reading about it, do so. Or tune in. We will do a Curse of Tezuka episode at some point in depth for y'all. So, underrated show of the year, Graham. What do you think's being underrated by people?
Currently, right now, I would probably say Elusive Samurai.
Yes.
I've always liked the manga, but I absolutely adore this show. And I don't know if it's getting as much attention as I think it deserves right now. Like, I think the storytelling is smart. I think the actual overall story is beautiful, and I think the animation is it's
crazy
top notch. Like,
yeah.
And I just don't see people talking about it. And all these Reddit lists I always see, it's always like somewhere in the mid, and I'm like, no, this show deserves to be a lot higher. And I don't know if it's maybe people aren't watching it or don't really understand what it's like the story is about, but yeah, watch Elusive Samurai.
It's really good. It's very unhinged, by the same creator as Assassination Classroom. So slightly unhinged, as is his way. But I agree. I think it's really great. I think it's something that's really going under the radar too.
Like, I don't know what I was expecting it to be good, but when I watched that first episode, I was like, oh no, this is a beautiful piece of art.
Yeah, it looks amazing.
So, and I hope it continues. Again,
yeah.
I hope all these, like, because it looks, when I watched it, I was like, God, this took so much work.
Yeah.
And I just hope people are getting paid. Hope everyone's having a good time.
Hope everyone's cool.
If you need somewhere to stay, come stay on my couch. Like, it's fine. But yeah, that's for me. I just don't see enough people talking about it, and I want people to find this show. And I think the manga is like gone through the roof, the sales again.
Yeah.
So I feel like it was always kind of like people knew it was good, but people didn't want to give it the chance. I hope that translates to the anime.
Agreed.
So yeah, that's mine.
Yep. I'm going to go with Kingdom, Season 5. Obviously. Of course I am, because Kingdom is amazing. It's the best show none of you are watching. But again, for those of you who have listened to this show a bunch, first 2 seasons of the anime look horrendous. You got to squint your way through it like I did. But when you do, you will be rewarded. But if you can't do that, and I understand if you can't. If you can't, read the manga.
At SmashCon, I thought there was someone dressed as the bear. But it was just, but it wasn't. It was just a bad cosplay of a bear. And I was like, oh, is that the bear?
The Golden Kamui bear?
No.
How did they pixelate in real life?
It wasn't. I was like, oh, that's a great. Oh no, you're just trying to do a normal bear, but that's like okay.
Okay, Graham. What has been your disappointment of the year so far?
It might be the Suicide Squad isekai.
Oh, really?
Like, it might be.
Oh, I'm
Look, I
looking
don't-
forward to our mid-season check-in.
I don't think I was expecting much from it, to be honest.
No.
I was just hoping it was going to be a bit more than what it was, or
Right.
a bit more unhinged and a bit more...
Adventurous?
Yeah, it just kind of... Because they've done a heap of those. Hey, here's Iron Man, but it's done by a manga studio, and here's the X-Men, and here's Batman, Shogun, whatever and stuff. And I was hoping it was like a bit better than that, but it just isn't. And the animation is wildly inconsistent.
Really?
It could be some of the best animation you've ever seen, and then just like, is someone like cut characters out of like paper and is on sticks?
Really?
Like, it's just, some of it's just so janky. It's a little bit paint by numbers, and it's a bit safe.
Right.
Which I get because it is existing IP, but it's a Suicide Squad. It's villains. Like, be
come on,
villainous,
guys.
you know? Like, I don't know. It's just, maybe it's disappointing is too strong of a word, and they've still got a lot to go, but I watched the first 3 episodes. A bit safe.
Yeah.
But I imagine it's because it's a Japanese studio, but also a massive American company.
Yeah.
That they're probably like, oh, no, you can't do that.
These are difficult. Whereas like Cyberpunk 2077,
It's great. Soul crushing.
one
Great.
of the best shows of last year.
Yeah.
Complete blindside. Crazy. But sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't.
Sometimes
That's
it
how it
does
is.
work. Like, I'm not like, I don't rule it out. If that's your jam, watch it. I'll probably give the rest of the season a red hot crack, but
Not loving it.
just a bit safe, just a bit bland. What about yourself?
Well, mine's going to lead into the one afterwards, which is episode of the year. But I'm going to say my disappointment of the year so far has been Demon Slayer.
Yeah, I mean,
Except
yeah,
for that final episode.
I'd say the first episode,
Very good.
and the very last. Yeah.
Very good. But look, you and I are both manga readers because we liked it so much that we had to read the manga, right? We were working together at that point, and we both did the same thing.
Yeah.
And I always knew that this arc would be disappointing. We knew that.
It's a slow arc.
We knew that. But
Hoo-wee.
at the same time, I think they handled it even worse and also you can adapt things a bit with an adaptation. You know what I mean? Like adapt to an adaptation. Yes, you can change things a little bit. You know what I mean? It's like because as I said to Jerry in our Patreon only episode, by the way, if you want to join our Patreon, you can get special episodes where, for example, Gerald and I, when we talked about Studio Ghibli storytelling, we then went and talked about Demon Slayer because that's the kind of crazy shit we're doing over there.
Never know where these guys are gonna go.
Never know where we're going to go next. It's wild out here. But basically, as I said to him, I'm spoiling some Patreon content, but the thing is, there's nothing wrong with taking a moment to breathe.
Oh yeah.
Especially in shonen.
Yeah.
We know how training arcs work. We were born and bred on them in Bleach and Naruto and whatnot. We know what a training arc is.
Yep.
Not as long as those. It's not a Rasengan training where it took him fucking 16 episodes to do a fucking single move.
Yeah.
So, but the problem is, I'm fine with that. The problem was, there was just no dramatic tension, and a lot of the Hashira were lame. And it's about how they handled it. You know what I mean? It's like, he's a snake man. It's like, but why?
Sliver.
It's like, get it. Why some edgelord motherfucker? Whereas the reason I like Gayome so much, good backstory.
Good backstory.
Now, also,
not the best backstory, but a good backstory.
we know that also anime sometimes bashes us over the head with backstories as well. Sometimes you don't need one. I get that, but if you're going to do a whole series here where we're about to go into the final arc, the Infinity Castle, where all the main characters are at play, let me really care for these characters. You know, let me really explore why I should care about them, what's interesting, and also give Tanjiro some more struggle. Like, he struggled to push a boulder for half an episode. That's about it. Otherwise, he just went and crushed everything.
Fifth boulder he struggled against like his entire show.
He really hates boulders. That's Muzan's. It's like, man, throw a boulder at him, he's gone.
It's just boulders all day. Like, I don't know. And it's also really late as well.
Yes.
And it's like, I guess they have to introduce the Hashira.
Yes.
Or at least give you a little susong of what they can do.
Yes.
But it's so late in this anime's lifespan.
Yes, it's literally
be like, hey, here's 5 characters you haven't seen do any shit. Like, you're like, okay, cool.
Yeah. It's timing. It's story structure.
Yeah.
That's the problem with it.
It's just lame. And then when you do get into the Infinity Castle, you do get a little bit more backstory of the Hashira as well.
Yes.
So I don't know. It's just not good.
Yeah,
it wasn't Airplane good. Episode was atrocious.
What was that? I mean, I did see someone post something. I can't remember what social media platform it was. Someone did say something which I found interesting. Was like when they all were doing the paper planes, which
Yeah,
look,
yeah.
we all hated. It did remind you that at the end of the day, they are kids.
Oh, they're all teenagers.
You know,
and
like, so
young- yeah.
I must admit, that did sort of soften my hatred of that episode when I was like,
Yeah, totally.
But again, once again, that is a good idea. Tell me that, by the way, like most wars, just terrified young kids who
child
in a place
soldiers.
they should never be.
Yeah.
But handled poorly.
Yeah.
Again.
Yeah.
No, it's not as if it was like, that is a great statement to make, but don't make it so badly.
Yeah.
You know? This brings me to my episode of the year so far. And it's obviously season 4, episode 8, which did everything that I want an anime shonen to do. It is hype. It looks incredible. Some of UFO Table's best work ever.
Yep.
Absolutely extraordinary.
Yep.
When Gomi comes in and takes off Muzan's head, one of the best sequences in all of anime history.
So fucking good.
So good.
My only quibble with that was that felt like the first 40 minutes of the movies we'll get in a couple of years.
That's true.
I feel like that's a movie. If I go to the movie theater in like a year to 18 months later and that's the first 40 minutes, furious.
Oh, I'd be furious
I'll
about
be
that.
furious because that's what it felt like. Title sequence, blah, blah, blah. The animation level was clearly a step above.
Oh,
It was phenomenal. But
pure Sakuga.
the entire time I'm like, oh, this is going to be, I'm going to pay to watch this again in the theater very soon.
I hope not. That would be but they got a lot of content to cover in 3 films.
They really do.
So they surely can't.
They've
They
got to go
can't.
through all the upper moons. Yeah, there's a lot.
It's almost too much. I wonder how long this.
they do
They're hour and a
2
half movies.
Yeah, well, maybe give them 2 hours, 6 hours. There is so much content to cover in 6 hours.
So much content. They'll have to smash through it.
That there's seasons worth of content here.
It's
Unless they do 3 movies and then they go
final
back
season?
to like a final season.
I get what's it's
again,
like with
why?
IQ as well, right? Like it's one of those things like, oh, is this a good decision?
Yeah.
Well, they've proven themselves at Mugen Train. We know that movie rocked and it looked phenomenal and it broke box office records. So from a business standpoint, your production committees again,
Yeah.
you know, you
Shake
can
harder, boy.
see why they've made this decision.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I get it.
I get it.
And if it looks like that, but also like call me old fashioned, just make me a TV series. You know, just make the fucking show.
Yeah,
Do season 5.
I'm kind of torn because I want that level of production, but I know that's kind of has to be like a movie. It has to be that budget.
Yeah, but
that.
episode 1, season 19.
True, but that's 30 minutes.
Okay, yes,
That's 30 minutes now.
The
And
last
the cat's
2
out of the bag now. Like,
that's
they've
true.
They've had too many episodes where they've like entertainment arc final battles. stuff
Incredible.
Like,
Some of the best of all time. Yep.
they've raised the bar that high that I guess they need to do
Movies.
movie
Yeah.
level stuff for us to not tear them apart.
That's true.
You know,
How do you top that? You got to make a movie. You're right.
you just got to make a movie, but
That's
then
true.
you've got to sacrifice. I think you're going to sacrifice a lot of story.
And also a lot of hype because there's 18 months. Like, wait, what happened? Guess we'll make some recap videos. Check them out on our YouTube channel.
We're gonna,
Take it all the way to the bank, baby. Recaps for days.
but it was great. Like even just the first like 25 minutes of Yubiyashi just in the bed, just being a boss. Like,
It was great.
And he's like, I couldn't even tell this guy's malicious and blows up. I was like, oh.
Yeah, it was brilliant. And even the walk towards him, all the hype, the Hashira running to it,
Yeah.
the Infinity Castle sequence, it was absolutely peak.
It was phenomenal.
Absolutely peak. One of the best things I've ever seen.
phenomenal.
So that was absolutely extraordinary. Loved that.
Yeah, again, just worried that I'm going to pay to watch that again. In a
Yeah,
movie
no,
theater.
I surely, look, I'm going to put that out in the universe that we're not going to have that. Maybe a very quick sequence of it, but God, surely it just has them all landing in the Infinity Castle and off they go, right?
I hope so. But
Yeah, but
that's the thing. How many times have they either taken a movie and chopped it up into episodes or squished them together and put it as a movie? Like, I don't know.
we can't be having that.
So,
But we will see.
will
Is that your
see.
most hype episode of the year so far? Your favorite episode of anything so far? Or is there a Frieren episode in there or something?
look, I could throw a dart at Frieren and hit any episode. Just from an emotional standpoint, it was just rocking me every episode.
Beautiful.
I don't know if it's maybe there's red scale in Jujutsu Kaisen when he fights Chosu.
Oh, yeah, beautiful.
With the blood lasers, and that was a
In
really
the bathroom.
that was really a great fight and quite
Yeah.
a unique fight in Shonen. Or the last episode, Transformation, where he kills
Spoiler.
Spoiler. Final battle between Itadori and what was his name?
Mahito.
That was great.
That was incredible.
You know, everything changes and he becomes like, you know, he's stalking him through the forest. It's like, that was phenomenal as well. So
And the Jugo battle with Sukuna as well was outstanding.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of Jujutsu Kaisen stuff. I forget that was this year.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, wait, what?
So
Halfway through the year, am I what? January?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, exactly.
where?
It's nearly August. It's
I know,
terrifying.
it's insane. No, that's this was good. We've been eating pretty good this year.
Oh, we have.
Speaking of eating good, what are you most excited about for the next little quarter of this year, or just over the quarter? Last third of this year.
Obviously, another one of my favorite mangas is being adapted. I'm pretty sure it's this year, probably towards December sort of time. Is Dandadan.
That's the next season, baby.
Oh, is it next season?
Yeah.
So hyped for that. Apparently, the first 3 episodes dropped at Anime Expo.
Oh,
and people were just loving it. So really hoping that lives up to my expectations.
Okay. We will talk about Dun to Dun when we eventually do our season hype up. So watch this space. But yes. Mine is ReZero Season 3.
Oh, yeah, true.
Also next season. Next season's going to be good, dude.
That's a good one.
Yeah, man, what a year 2024 is shaping up to be. Already been, as we've talked through this whole episode. But yes.
Yeah, I missed that ReZero trauma.
Oh, the trauma.
Like the trauma of it all. I missed that.
Well, there's been 4 years between season 2 and season 3, which is insane.
Yep.
We will do a recap video.
I think we have to. I need
YouTube.
a recap.
I need it myself. I'm doing it for myself, actually, because I'm not going to rewatch it. Well, I probably have to rewatch it so I can do the recap video. Yeah. Anyway, poor me. So that's really exciting.
Yeah. I can't believe it's been 4 years.
Dude, and it was 4 years between 1 and 2 as well.
Oh, right.
16 to 20.
I'm going to be dead by the time it finishes, to be honest. I haven't got that much life left.
Time left.
Just drop dead. Season 4 be announced.
I'm an 80-year-old man.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, so lots of good stuff.
Lots to look forward to. Well, Graham, thank you for joining me today.
Oh, thank you. Thanks, Charlie.
Thanks, Charlie. Sorry.
Loser.
We'll definitely get her favorite show, Josei, for the year, of course, because we're grossly underrepresenting that genre.
We are.
Sorry, everybody. Sorry about that.
You know what? Maybe we should take a time and look at some Josei stuff as well, instead of just palming it off to the female host.
Relying on the chick.
Yeah. Maybe we just gotta.
It's bad of us. That's true.
I think we got to recommend some Josei maybe one episode.
Okay, you know what? We do. I need to watch some. I mean, I enjoyed Fruits Basket, but obviously it's not anywhere near too close to this season. But
I'm sure there's some sort of vampire love story vending machine anime or something like that.
Some high school vampire daycare, whatever the fuck that one was she talked about. God knows. No, look, those are her unhinged ones. She does have very good taste in Shoujo, obviously.
But we need to make an effort.
We need to make more of an effort. You're right. We need to broaden our horizons.
Yeah.
We're going to not just
can't be all hype battles.
Shonen sport, toxic fucking nonsense.
The one where you hit the blood laser?
So when I was reading Reddit, I'm like, oh man, we're not doing ourselves any fucking favors, are we?
Not at all.
Anyway, thank you so much, Gray.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for listening. This has been Graham and I's sort of 2/3 point of the year 2024 anime check-in. Just wanted to bring you all up to speed and kind of reset before we really dive into the final part of this year. Smash Convention was so much fun. Smash, thanks for having us. If you are a new listener from SmashCon, usually there are 3 of us, but of course, just Gray and I today. But a very good time. We'll be back shortly with more episodes. If you really like what we're doing, you can find us on YouTube, where hopefully you're watching this episode. If you are listening to us via any podcast platform, you can head over to Spotify and Apple, where you can give us a review. Really does help. Even if you just click the 5-star thing, that's more than enough. But if you want to write a nice review, that really helps. Otherwise, we are, of course, on Instagram and TikTok. And if you really like what we're doing, we've got special episodes over on our Patreon. We also do early releases, behind the scenes, all kinds of things over there. So if you really like what we're doing, every little bit does indeed help. So thank you all so much. We really appreciate it. Great. I'll catch you next time. Everyone, thanks for watching and or listening.